Hello, my name's Colin Crithers, and I'm a student reporter and broadcaster at the University of Iowa. As a journalist, my job is to tell stories, while also balancing everything else going on in my life as a student. But no one tells our stories. So, my goal is to tell the stories of the student journalists, broadcasters, and storytellers all across the country. Let's walk the student beat. Welcome in. Today, we're walking the student beat with a member of one of the best student journalism teams in the country, no bias at all, the Cardmaster himself, and of course, one of the nicest guys I know, Mr. Ryan Paris. How are you, Ryan?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. So, first, Ryan, if you don't mind, just giving a little bit more of an introduction to yourself and the things you do over at Iowa.
Yeah, so at Iowa, got involved with Daily Iowan in the spring of my freshman year. I was doing photos initially, like photograph some sports games, some like portrait shots and whatnot. But in the fall of my sophomore year, which was last year, switched over to the TV side. Made like a bunch of great friends there, like genuinely some of the best people I've ever met are in that DITV space. Then especially in the spring, got involved with like the sports staff with you, Elise, Brady, Jake, Cole, and probably plenty of others that I'm forgetting to name. So a lot of time in DITV. It was so much fun. Really like kind of was like this is like kind of where I belong. So that was a great thing. And then also involved with KRUI, the radio station, like calling some sports games. We did a baseball game right at the end of the year, and then trying to get more involved with Big Ten Plus this upcoming year.
Absolutely. I mean, definitely we can call it a second home in the studio at times, it feels like. But before we dive into all the things you're doing up in Iowa, if you don't mind just sharing the story about what inspired you to get into journalism in any form.
Yeah, so I was watching back the Tyler episode, like I mentioned right before this, and his like story about getting into it was like, wow, that was like basically exactly mine. Like when you're playing baseball in the yard when you're 4 or 5 years old, you're pretending you're Paul Konerko, you're pretending you're Gordon Beckham or Lexi Ramirez on the White Sox, but you're also like calling the game for yourself. Like you want to make it fun, especially when like you're by yourself, and like that can extend to like racing diecast NASCARs like on the living room floor after a race day, or you can also do that just like playing basketball in the driveway. So that was like the start of it. I'm like, wow, this is like really fun. And like I like doing this. And then as like time went on, like start playing video games. And like as Tyler mentioned, like you're playing Madden and you're like talking over the game as you're doing it. I probably did the same thing for all pretty much any sports game. And really like the first like real broadcasting I got into, it's actually a very probably a unique thing. I wouldn't say that many other people have this start. It was over COVID. I was like really into Rocket League. That was just like my game that I played all the time. Got into this one like league with some people who were about the same skill level, and there were some like opportunities to like broadcast the matches. So I actually got into like broadcasting things like for the first time like on a live thing like with Rocket League. That's where it started. And from there, just like at that point like you can do this. Like you're doing it live, and you feel like you're doing a pretty good job of it. And then you just kind of keep doing stuff, whether it's basketball in the driveway, whether it's more Rocket League, whether it's whatever. You just kind of keep going on with the broadcasting thing. And eventually, like you get to college, and there's a plenty more opportunities to do stuff there as well.
Yeah, with the Rocket League thing, was that attached to your high schools? I know you said it was a part of a league, but was that with your high school or just completely independent?
That was just a completely independent thing. I don't even know how I first stumbled across it. I just know there was like a pretty active like Discord group, probably like 60 people in it. And there was a bunch of players. I wasn't very good at the time to be a player, but I had fun broadcasting them. And they weren't like the highest level matches in the world, but they were like everybody's pretty competitive and like knows what they were doing. So it was a pretty fun time. And that was really like it's kind of how I got into it.
That leads to you calling any other sports around that time or even in esports?
Let's see. My high school didn't really have like a broadcasting thing. That's something that I found is like not normal. Like I feel like most schools had either like a TV station specifically to broadcast games. Like pretty much everybody I've met at Iowa said, yeah, my schools had something like that. So mine didn't. So really it was literally just like basically doing Madden games or doing like basketball in the driveway or something, and like just kind of like getting used to like sports like that. And then once I got to Iowa, of course, like actual opportunities to do it. So I mean, I did my first KRUI game back in the winter of last year, and that was like a big moment because it's like this is a real sport. This is not you're playing basketball in the driveway. This is like there are real people. This is like teams that people know. And like being able to like feel like I could do that and hang with it was like a big moment for me.
You can absolutely more than just hang with them. You're pretty damn good at it. I mean, you mentioned we called a game together, which we'll talk about later. I also don't want to pass by this part. Good pools with those White Sox players. I got to give you a little bit of applause for that.
Hey, thank you.
I got to ask though, is there any reason you didn't want to name anyone on the roster right now?
Well, that was more just like when I was 6 years old. There's plenty of guys on the roster right now. I've been saying it for a couple of months now, but they have jumped from losers to lovable losers at this point. Like we got some dudes now.
So are we coining the phrase from the Cubs now, the lovable losers?
I think that's just a general phrase,
Okay,
honestly.
okay. That's fair. That's fair. But then you also mentioned going into the Daily Island your freshman year, you started off on the photo side. So what pulled you in to that aspect of journalism?
Yeah, honestly, it's probably for lazy reasons. It seemed like a way to like get my foot in the door with the Daily Line without having to like commit an entire Sunday to like a pitch meeting or something. It's just you kind of go in, you pick up your story. It's a very independent driven process where I have my three things I need to do this week. I can go do them whenever I can schedule it. And it was just like you get your three, four photo assignments, work around your schedule and just go take the photos of whatever. I mean, nobody liked doing baseball at the time, which was great for me because I love doing baseball. The problem with photos is it started to get repetitive after a while. You can only photograph the same angles so many times before it kind of loses some of the fun to it. So at some point, I was like, I kind of want to switch. And then I gave it like a week when I got back in sophomore year. And it's like, yeah, I think it's time to switch over to TV.
And then we welcomed you with open arms here on the sports side. And we already you kind of already mentioned what DITV is. Obviously, the TV side of the Daily Iowan. We're doing our newscasts and everything. But what's kind of your favorite parts about DITV?
I mean, I think like it's just the people there. Like it's genuinely just fun to like hang out with everybody. Like, and when I got started, I was a sophomore joining with all these freshmen, some of my like best friends. I just got really close with a bunch of those freshmen who had joined initially. We had some like great times and like hanging out outside of DITV as well was awesome. But like specifically DITV moments, I think back to the election show when we worked probably till 3 a.m. and then basically slept over at the studio and then got up to work on the morning newscast when that came out. That one's probably something I'm never going to forget. And then I think back to my first sports assignment as well. Absolutely worst thing I've ever had to do in sports. But it was like, I think our assistant news director, he was like, it's a good way to get your foot in the door for sports. I was like, fine, but it's on a Saturday and it's wrestling. I'm not a big wrestling guy. But I ended up going there, and this was the day of the football game, the Wisconsin football game. And I had been told I was going to get back at like 3 p.m. All right, perfect. It's a night football game. I'll be there. And pretty soon after we get there, I realize I'm not getting home at 3 p.m. I get home at like 10 p.m. I think just about exactly when the game ended is when we got back to Iowa City. And it was just like that was an all-day experience. Hated it, but it was a way to get your foot in the door. And I think that was important to moving forward.
That was what women's wrestling regionals in Indianola, correct?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I covered that the year before with Elise, and we also didn't realize it was going to be an all-day event. And we got there, and we were starving, and it was a whole thing. It's not a bad event, but I think next year, if someone goes, they don't need to go as early. They can go like in the afternoon, evening, because at the beginning of that day, it's just they're like winning the first two, 3 rounds, and you know Iowa wrestling, and it's really good. They're going to win those matches, and if they don't, then you'll find out later, anyways.
Right. Yeah. I feel like also just briefing the person that, hey, you might think you're going to get home early, but you're not. You're going to be there until the night. And yeah, but definitely having like a probably 12 plus hour day. I think I got up at probably 7 a.m. and got back at 10 p.m. That's what, 15 hours?
Hmm.
That was certainly interesting, but it got way better from there. That was like
Oh yeah.
the welcome to college moment. And since then, it's gotten better.
No, absolutely it has. But also, we mentioned like your favorite parts, some of the people, but you mentioned a story that maybe wasn't your favorite. But what's one of your favorite events or stories that you've covered with the ITV?
Think the one that probably I remember the most would be doing the Iowa football spring practice with Cole and Jake. So this was they're two freshmen. I'm sophomore, first year getting to cover football. This is all our first opportunities with the football team, like at Kinnick Stadium kind of thing. Um, we covered the spring practice, and then really what I remember is afterwards, we all went out on the field to film like our stand-ups for the package, which for those who don't know are like your intro and your outro to the package before you cut into like the stuff you filmed. And you just kind of like lead in and lead out. And we just had so much fun with that. Like we walk out onto the field, we are the only people in the stadium at this point. All the other reporters, there's one dude who's like way up by the gate of the stadium. And then all three of us are on the field. We're just like messing around, recording our stand-ups for probably 45 minutes. And then we just continue to play on the field. And we just like take photos. We're running 40-yard dashes in our suits. It's like, how many times are you going to get the opportunity to do that? And that was definitely like probably the most fun I've ever had doing some kind of DITV sports thing.
What's maybe the favorite, like, because since I know this part, I know you guys made a lot of like extra fun videos that you sent to us. What was maybe your favorite video you guys took on that field?
There was the one where Cole was parodying Brady's one of Brady's stand-ups where he goes, the Hawkeye quarterback walked down this sideline into this end zone. And he like motions and then points to the end zone. And then Cole was doing one for when Cade McNamara got hurt. And he's like, the Iowa quarterback got injured right here. Then he falls down to the ground.
That was a good one. I remember like, well, I don't even remember where I was, but I was with Brady and I nudged him and I was like, "Hey, dude, look at this. This is great." It was a pretty good reenactment too.
It was, yeah.
He felt, I mean, it was pretty graceful fall and everything. But what about with the spring practice and everything? I think the interesting part about it, some people think, oh, it's just, practice for the football team, a little warm up. You're going to get a certain story out of it. But from someone on an outside perspective who wasn't there, who's not seeing the work that goes into it from the journalism perspective, what's something that you would tell someone about something they wouldn't really notice about the work that goes into it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of went in as outsiders as well because this was our first exposure to the football team. So basically, we were kind of like, where do we go at first? And they had like a rule that you can't go in certain spots, but feel like as a journalist, you kind of push the boundaries with where you go. Like we're able to be on the field at first, not during like the actual part of the practice, but while they're doing warm-ups, like you can walk around anywhere. You can get like super up close to the guys and get footage. But I think a lot of it was kind of as we're going through it, like trying to think of what we want our stories to be and then basically filming the moments that will fit into those stories. So I did like a general practice recap. I think Cole might have done the offense and Jake did the defense specific one, but for like the general one, just kind of wanted to get like the vibe of the practice overall. So shooting some offensive drives, some defensive plays, and then like filming a stand-up that kind of in the middle of it kind of bridges the two parts.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you've done some pretty cool feature stories for DITV as well. So, what about one of your favorite feature stories that you've done as well?
Yeah, so I mean, I wasn't there to interview the baseball players at the end of the year, but was able to kind of cut up that story. And I gave Jake the questions. I believe I was sick that day, I want to say, or maybe out of town, one of the two. But that was a really cool one just to like kind of see what the baseball players were talking about. But I think the my favorite one, I was actually kind of just buying time right there because I didn't remember it at first, but now it came to me. Kennedy Blades, or not Kennedy Blades, Aaliyah Guyton, Aaliyah Guyton
Oh yeah.
basketball. She's one of the freshmen on the women's basketball team. That was the one I did get to do in person. Got to like go to Carver, head down to like the practice facility, got to sit down with her for like 10, 15 minutes and kind of just talk through kind of her family's influences on her basketball career because her dad played at Indiana and played for the Bulls. Her mom played on the Brazilian national team and kind of like and she also played overseas. So Aaliyah like grew up kind of in Europe and stuff, like with traveling with her parents. So it's a really cool basketball family and kind of getting to learn about how that kind of contributed to what her career is today. Sucks that she transferred away like shortly after that package aired, but still, it was a cool experience.
At least it went up before she transferred, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
At least it wasn't like she announced that she was transferring the next day. We had it running, and it was like, oh well, crap. No, I think it was still a few weeks before she announced she was transferring. I thought, is that
Yeah,
right?
that sounds right. It was definitely during the season still.
Okay, that's good. But like with setting up that story, talk to me about what goes into like setting up to get those interviews. It's a great story, but it's kind of difficult to tell, which you did a great job with it, by the way. But you're trying to balance your schedule and the athlete's schedule and talk to the SID. So What all goes into setting up a story like that?
Yeah, so I think it wasn't the baseball one was way harder to set up. This one was actually very nice and simple. Just kind of reach out to the SID who was very communicative. Just gave me like a list of times, like, hey, can you stop by here? And I would say, no, I can't, or yes, I can. What ended up happening, I think it was a Friday afternoon, so probably at like 2 or 3 p.m. I believe this was either right before one of their practices. So Aaliyah's just comes out, she's like dressed up, like ready to go practice, able to sit down. The SID kind of just sets everything up. He's like, hey, you got 10 minutes or whatever. And you start the interview just kind of by like talking. So I believe I talked to her just about her experiences like on campus, just being like a regular freshman. Like, what's like your roommate like? What do you like about the dining halls? Just kind of like loosen them up like that, and then kind of dive into some more of the questions. It was really just pretty simple. Just like bring over a chair, have her sit down, frame up the camera, start it rolling, and you just kind of have a conversation. And then eventually at some point, once you feel like you've gotten to like know them enough, kind of jump into the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're also trying to get all the B-roll and everything. And I know you tried to talk to their parents as well. How does that look like? Because I know that was a rare scenario. I mean, but so I'm talking in general. I mean, how does it look after the interview, trying to get all the different visual aspects and the parts that you want to talk about, and maybe even some other voices?
Yeah, so basically for the visuals in this package, what I wanted to do initially was kind of be able to talk to her parents and maybe get some footage of her when she was playing in like high school or middle school or even like AAU kind of ball. But her parents weren't down to be interviewed for it, so we kind of had to pivot there. And basically the solution became just use game footage of her in college. And something that was kind of cool is I covered one of the basketball games. I believe it was the UCLA game, and I think she went off in that game, or at least had a couple of points. So there were a couple of clips that like I personally recorded that I was able to throw into the package, and then just throwing in some other ones throughout the rest of the season, just kind of combing through all the footage in like our shared Google Drive, finding one that would be her shooting a three or her getting an assist or her taking a steal, and kind of just throw that in there. And then also some like crowd shots and stuff.
Yeah, trying to mix it all up. Again, you did really well with that story, and I'll probably link that too so people can go watch it. But you mentioned also KRUI. Your first broadcast with them was this past winter, correct?
Yes, with Brady.
Yeah, so how'd you get with Brady Barron? Oh Lord, don't worry, we're gonna talk about him. Don't you fret. But talk about how you got your foot in the door there.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd known Aiden since my freshman year. Aiden's the director over there. One of the best people you'll ever meet. Love the guy. I talked to him about like kind of wanting to get involved. Initially, it had been like, could we use your equipment if we wanted to go do a broadcast of our own? And that never really materialized, but still being able to do KRUI and just being like, hey, could I like have an opportunity to call one of the games? You find an opening in the schedule. And so I was able to kind of get that opportunity, which was awesome. Really grateful for it. Um, and like I had been listening, like there's a guy on YouTube, Carlo, the broadcaster. He's the Clippers radio guy, and he makes some like YouTube content about being a broadcaster. So kind of just like even watching some of his videos to kind of get prepared for it to go in. And then like just going in there with Brady, he takes play by play for the first half, kind of lets me kind of get acclimated to it. I'm not the most knowledgeable basketball guy ever, especially at the time. I'm getting better now. So being color was a little bit shaky, but then transitioning over to play by play, I mean, that's just you're calling games in the driveway, and now you're just calling games on the big stage. So I felt like it was a pretty seamless transition to get there. So it was really just having that like veteran presence to help kind of mentor you and get you acclimated in there was, I think, the key to making it go well.
Yeah, and I'll give him some love. I think a nice first call being with Brady Barron is, and that's a good thing because I feel, at least from my experience, he makes it feel calm, comfortable, and easy to kind of like get your foot in the door and not feel too nervous about a call.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Brady is the best. He was our DITV sports director in the spring. And he was basically like the big brother figure for all of us because he's the senior. We're all sophomores at the time. You got a bunch of freshmen in there too, and just like hanging out with him. He's like, I don't know, that's like one of my favorite people.
Oh, I know, but don't worry. We gotta show him some more. We'll show him some more love, but we'll also hint at some other stuff. Don't, because I know he's gonna listen to this. I told him about. I was just telling you before we started recording. I told him that this was this week's episode. He's very excited, but of course we got to bring him up.
Yeah, of course.
But well, I mean, there's one thing on my mind specifically that I know we can get them pretty well for, but we'll wait on it a little bit. We'll make
Mhm.
them wait out because with broadcasting and everything, we mentioned that you and I have called a game together, and we called Oregon baseball. And I'll also say that was probably one of the more seamless broadcasts I've ever had. I felt like we were pretty in sync. But the other thing about it is we both had some very creative calls and phrases we brought up. Is there any favorite phrase or call that you've had?
Like from that game or just in the season as a whole?
Whenever, whenever.
Yeah, I think one of the things I liked to do, this was another thing I'd seen Carlo do on YouTube, is like just like give me some words to say and work into the broadcast. So I like started doing that because it makes it more fun, right? It's like
Mhm.
you have to work the word like wizard into the broadcast or something. You have to work in the word banana. It's like, okay, how do I do that? It's like an extra challenge and it just makes it more colorful when you do it. But besides that, favorite calls. I think one of the home runs is like we'll catch that one in Coralville. Just like the alliteration was fun.
Mhm.
And then I think there's the one where you strike him out and you say he looks so lost. He's on the back of a milk carton. That one's one of my favorite ones to do as well. I think just like having some just like variety of calls and just like being able to have fun with it, I think is the biggest thing rather than just like strike three. You gotta have some fun and spice it up. And I mean, we did a lot of that. You had like a whole list of them and I think you made a YouTube video of it too.
I, I made a YouTube video of like some of them, I think at least. I don't know if they're all on there, but I did. I know I did that. And the Milkman one you brought up in the broadcast we had, and I was dying. I think that was probably my favorite that I've heard in general, much less just that day. But
Yeah, that one was a lot of fun. I think just in general, just like because we're like alternating every 3 innings play by play during that game. So we get some time and then just switch it up and we'll reach like fist bumping each other after every one and they like check it off the list. I remember that was a lot of fun.
I cross it through when you're done.
Yeah.
I started doing like the random word thing. Not this summer, obviously, but this last summer when I was calling baseball for the Hamilton Joes Summer Collegiate League. Um, and I would just ask a bunch of people for random words, as you were saying. And some of the words were so creative, but I found a way to basically knock them off. We had a rule because it was me and like my partner. We'd switch off each day. So one day you do play by play, the next day you do color. And we made it the rule of like you can only do it when you're doing play by play, or else we're going to be all over the place. Do you have any like favorite words you've been given?
I was just thinking about that. I think the toughest one I ever had to work in was Jiminy Cricket. That one was like how do you say that and not sound like you're from like the 1920s? That one was a challenge. I don't even remember how I worked it in, but I think I maybe made some kind of like Pinocchio pun off of that. But that was pretty difficult. And then you get some like easier ones like donut, like okay, that's just a synonym for a zero or something. But yeah, Jiminy Cricket was definitely one of the tougher ones. That's one of the ones that I remember the most for sure.
Oh yeah, I think the other thing about it too, though, is when you're doing it often enough, I figured out by the end of the year I didn't get enough random words, so I didn't do it at the end of that season for like 2 games. And I was still coming up with stuff because at this point it was so fresh that my vocab kind of expanded.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I think I got to share one of the more difficult words I think I'd gotten is smorgasbord.
So, oh, I remember that one, I think. Yeah.
I think I've done that one once or twice. Oh, I know I've done it once. I don't know if I've done it twice or not. But smorgasbord was a very interesting word to get.
I think the one of your calls I remember is something about the leftovers in your fridge. Do you remember which one that was?
I know what you're talking about. Um, if I think it was like a strike three call. So
Yeah, it
it was
was. It
strike
was.
out looking. He froze them like the leftovers in the back of my freezer. I think is what it
Yeah,
was.
that was a good one.
I think that's what it was. That
No,
was a
that
good
sounds
one.
right.
I think I just pulled it out of nowhere too for that one. It's like I kind of had it prepared. It wasn't like completely out of nowhere, but I had gone a while without saying one, and I was like, "Yeah, let's just jump to this one out of nowhere."
Yeah.
So you mentioned KRUI, but also get involved with Big Ten Plus. I mean, you haven't had too much time there yet, but talk about some of your experience there. I know it's only been a few games, but how's that been for you?
Yeah, so I've done I think 2 games with Big Ten in the spring. Kind of got involved back towards the end of April, so it was a little bit late to get on, but just kind of getting your foot in the door kind of thing before this upcoming fall. First game I did, I was expecting to kind of just shadow, and then one of my buddies, Sam, was like, "Yeah, on my first day, they just needed someone to work cameras, so I did," and then that ended up being what I ended up doing. I ended up being working the outfield camera, which if I was like just starting out, that probably would have been really scary. But I had been working it before for the Slammers, Joliet Slammers, which is a baseball team I worked for the previous summer. So Big Ten's very similar to what we did there last summer. So I was pretty used to it. The only problem was it was incredibly windy and also incredibly sunny that day. So I mean, my hair was like way up. I was red as a beet at the end of it. Didn't even notice until like 2 hours later when I got back to my dorm and finally looked in a mirror. But it was just like a windswept, sunburnt day, but being able to do something with Big Ten like I had experience doing definitely made it kind of an easier thing. And then the second time I did a game, I was just in the tech booth and kind of just shadowing. So I watched graphics for like an inning or two. I watched the director for an inning or two and all the other ones, the producer, I think. We had some audio guys and kind of just like going from station to station, kind of absorbing kind of all the information for this upcoming fall.
I remember that day now. So I think I was the director for that game.
Yeah, you were, you were.
And I remember the praise about that part is like for you, I'm gonna give you some love. Why not? Was like you going around actually trying to learn as much as you could instead of just sitting there and being like, all right, this is what it looks like for the day. I'll give you
Yeah,
some flowers. I'll give you some applause for that. You
thank
know,
you.
it'll be fun this fall. We have a lot of fun in that studio, especially like we'll set up and maybe sometimes we'll have like an extra 30 minutes, an hour just to kind of like chill out, hang out, have some fun. And it is truly just your casual time in there. It's pretty nice.
Well, I remembered the one I was in the tech booth for, one of the people just brought like a big thing of donuts. And I was like, wow, this is great. Like there's just like this probably 2 dozen apple cider donuts from her job. It was like they were like the ones that didn't make it onto the shelf. And I was like, wow, I love this here. I could get used to this.
Shout out Ellie for that. Unfortunately, she graduated. Bring her back, but bring back the donuts too, because she was like, yeah, because she's working at a bakery. It's one of her 19 jobs she had at the time, and she's like,
Jeez.
I don't know. She had a lot of jobs at one point, but she's like, yeah, these are the ones that weren't perfect, so they couldn't go on the shelf, and they tasted perfect. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
they did.
They
I
also
think I
tasted
probably had
free.
2 or 3.
I you said two or three. I should not say this, but I probably had like six to nine of them. I don't even know. I had
Jeez.
plenty of them. It was bad.
You gotta
This
take advantage.
I did. I also would like to say some of them were the smaller ones, but they weren't. They were normal, the bigger size. So I can't even own up to that. I was hungry. It was dinner time. I hadn't ate dinner. That's my excuse. I was hungry.
That's fair.
Does that pass?
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate it. We'll go with that. But I also want to highlight, as you brought it up, and I wanted to bring it up anyway, so Joliet Slammers, and just talk to me about who they are and what you've done with them.
Yeah, so they're a team in the Frontier League, which is like an independent baseball league. So kind of guys who are fresh out of college, guys who didn't quite cut it in the minor leagues. This is kind of like the next step below that. Kind of where they're playing, maybe hoping to get a call up, maybe just playing for the love of the game. I think if you ask, probably the majority of the guys are just playing just because they love the sport. Doesn't pay very well, obviously, as you'd think. It's not even minor league baseball, it's a tier below that. But I mean, these are some just like guys who just truly love playing baseball. And so last summer when I worked for them, first year, very in-house production kind of thing, like we do with Big Ten, where you got camera people, you got somebody working the score bug, working the audio, people in the booth, people recording like a pregame show during the broadcast. All of it was produced in-house. One of the most fun summers of my life, probably. Met Sam through that and found out he was transferring to Iowa. And then once we got to Iowa, we did a radio show together. So got to know him a lot better at Slammers. That was just cool to have somebody to go back to Iowa with. It was just like a good friend at that point. And then this summer, they actually outsourced all of their production. And I'm not joking when I say this to Argentina. They have a tech director who kind of controls all of the cameras remotely from there. We still have our broadcasters in the booth, but what we have basically, it was like you are not operating the cameras anymore. You're not running anything in the broadcast. So we had to kind of come up with a creative way to kind of make ourselves useful around there this summer. So couple of my buddies and me, which is Jack, Michael, me. We three were part of the camera crew, and then another guy named Thomas, who's a little bit older than us. He just graduated from Penn State this year, so us four were kind of leftovers. Sam went to the rival team, by the way, and we had another guy named Charles who's there about half the time. But basically, Thomas, Jack, Michael, and me, we kind of alternate by doing pregame shows, postgame shows after every game. If we win, we interview a player. And then I've also been writing a bunch of the game recaps and found that to be probably one of the most fun things about the job this year. Like I really have got more into writing this summer and it's just been a whole lot of fun.
What makes that part so enjoyable to you?
I feel like I don't know. I feel like just being able to kind of write creatively, like I'm a big fan of creative writing, narrative writing. I mean, I am like a cinema minor at Iowa, so like the storytelling aspect of things. And I think just being able to tell the stories and like last year we wrote game recaps, but it was a very matter of fact, like he doubled, then he singled, then he scored, and the pitcher struck out three. And that's pretty much all that recap was. So adding some more just like color to it, having a lot more fun. Took a sports writing class in spring semester with Wayne Drays and was able to kind of improve and kind of like learn what it takes to like write better recaps. And still, they're not like the best things ever, but I'm having fun writing them, and they're definitely, I think, fun to read. I'd hope at least. So it's been a lot of fun to work on them, and just being able to be creative and talk about baseball, kind of like challenging yourself to express the game in like a different way.
They are fun reads, I will say. I mean, I've read a few of them, and you have some good leads on them. I know the last one that I saw you post wasn't the Slammers necessarily, but it was late night baseball. I like the
Yeah,
lead for that one.
that's a creative piece that I've just been working on for this summer. So in addition to the slammers, like I've been like I start my mornings off because the slammers are always at night. So in the mornings, like I'll read for like 30 minutes to an hour of like just like some sports writing books. Like Joe Posnanski who writes about baseball and football. I've really been loving his stuff. And then like that's kind of just like get in the mindset, and then I'll just like write about something for like an hour or two each day, and I'll probably put in a couple of weeks on that baseball after dark story. It's just about a game between the Padres and the Phillies that went till 4 a.m. in the morning. So it was just a lot of fun to write them and just like continue to like kind of learn how to do other things. And just if you're enjoying them, it doesn't really feel like you're writing for 2 hours. It just kind of feels like you're just having a good time and like learning about baseball history.
Absolutely. If you love what you do, right, no matter what it is, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like fun.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I feel with a lot of this stuff. Even this in general, even sometimes it's like, all right, I got to set it up. But I enjoy talking to everyone that I have so far. And of course, I love talking to you. But you
Well,
mentioned
this is like
what?
I was gonna say, this is like one of the first times we've gotten to catch up this summer, so that's been
No,
cool as well.
I know it's brutal, but I appreciate it. It is fun. It has been nice. But you mentioned like on that article lead is what the game went 14 innings that you were at, but it was an afternoon game.
Yeah, it was something like I think it was the longest game I've ever been to. It was a 14 inning game between the miserable Colorado Rockies and the even more miserable Chicago White Sox. But that was a afternoon game, and we got home for dinner on time or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously that's you mentioned the longest game you've been to. What's the latest you've ever been at a baseball game? Just for fun.
I don't think I've ever been to an extra innings game at night. Like all of those
Really?
games tend to end early. I mean, generally we don't go to too many night games as a family. Like it's usually like the weekends, like the Sundays. So I would say probably the latest I've ever gone back is probably only like midnight, which means the game probably ended closer to 11 p.m. So I've never experienced one firsthand, which is kind of why I was like fascinated by the concept of games even going that late. And obviously with the pitch clock and the ghost runner now, it's almost never going to happen ever again.
What about the Slammers? Do the Slammers ever go that late?
So Frontier League has a very interesting rule where if it's tied after the 10th inning, they'll do a sudden death where the home
Oh yeah.
team picks if they want to bat or if they want to pitch. And the batting team gets a runner on first with one out. And if they score, they win. If the pitching team gets the other two outs, they win. And so I think we were the first team to ever do that. And I think they had like an MLB article about it last year. I'm not sure if it's happened this year, but it basically prevents games from going that late. There was one game the other day, I think maybe a week or two ago, where we were about to win the game. And like in the seventh inning, my friend Jack was like, "Yeah, I bet this dude's gonna hit like a game tying home run in the ninth inning for like the other team. Then he actually did with down to his last strike, and then the other team scored 5 runs in extra innings, and that just felt like the longest thing ever. And I think that was after a rain delay on top of that, so I got home probably 11:30 or midnight, and that's one of the latest games I've had to work.
No, it also doesn't help that some of those games could feel like they just drag on. I assume it with them, but I know from like other games I've been at, some of them just like continue the drag on, especially if they like tie it up in the ninth and they keep going.
And one of the like remarkable things about the Slammers is that our our ballpark is kind of like a pitcher's park. So we don't have too many high scoring games here, which is great because there was a game that was 23-19 the other week. And like imagine if you were at that game. Like that would be a whole lot of fun until you realize that you also want to go to bed at a normal time. And you might also have to write the recap after the game. Thankfully, I didn't. Slammers do tend to score most of their high scoring games on the road. So thankfully, I feel like the biggest game we've ever had to do is probably like a 12-9 game, which is pretty big, but it's not like unfathomably large.
It's not ridiculous 29, 23 to 19 or whatever.
No,
I don't know if you saw the other night. There's been some really high scores in MLB recently.
there have.
I gotta say the Reds won recently between with them and the Braves. Did you see what happened the
I
other
don't think
night?
I saw that one. No.
They were Game was 3-3 after the seventh inning. I was working this game.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so I'm down the right field line as a ball boy for Cincinnati Reds. I'm doing that again this summer. I'm down the right field line, and it's 3-3, go to the top of the eighth inning, and the Braves just can't stop hitting against the Reds. It was a whole thing. And when you're down the right field line, you have to go out to the bullpens to grab whatever the new incoming pitcher wants to bring into the dugout. So let's say the Reds bring in a new pitcher, their bullpens in center field. So the right field ball boy will run out to center field, grab whatever they want us to bring into the dugout and run it back to the dugout real quick. So I think we saw at least I think four pitchers that inning from the Reds at least. And then we go to the bottom half, and the Reds score 8 runs in the bottom of the eighth with no outs, and the Braves are seeing three pitchers. I think that inning lasted close to 45 minutes an hour.
Wow.
It was a whole
That's 16 runs. That is crazy. I believe it was like that's like having like 3 times ever where a team has like done that or something.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that was the third time that happened, and it was ridiculous. I would say it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I would not be a happy camper if I had to sit there through that. Especially, I think the Braves won that game, right?
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah, so that would make it sting a bit more.
Oh yeah, like in the top half, I was like, this is brutal. People were clearing out, which I was like, why are we leaving early? But they're clearing out, and I'm like, this is tough. And then we started like the Reds in the bottom half are scoring their runs, and at first I was like, all right, like this is I'm fine with them hitting, but like, what's gonna happen out of this? And eventually, at one point, they got close enough. They were at 6, 7, 8 runs, and I at that point was like, you know what? I'll be here all night. I just want to let's do it at this point. Might as well make a comeback happen. Has it felt very realistic at the time? I don't know. It was weird to describe, but the feeling in that moment in that ballpark was it's going to happen. It's inevitable. And well, the comeback kind of happened, but not really.
I mean, they did come back and then they also lost.
They
So
did lose. They did lose.
50%.
I feel does it still count as a comeback if you don't win
I
the game?
think so.
I think
Uh,
it can.
it's not a comeback win, but you did come back from
Mhm.
absolutely out of the game to in the game. So I'd
Absolutely.
say
Yeah.
they did.
I would agree with that statement. I feel like there's some people that like might be like, oh, it only matters if you win. I mean, obviously it only matters if you win, but like a comeback is only counting if you win the game or not. But I feel like I mean you still came back, you still tied the game, right? I mean that counts.
You gotta get points for something.
I feel like you hear that term a lot more in basketball of like, oh, they made a comeback in the third quarter, but still lost the game or whatever. I feel like you hear that a lot in basketball. So that's what I'm basing it off of.
Yeah.
But you mentioned just a bit ago, you're also a cinema minor. So talk about tying this back in with everything that you've done, how that kind of helps with your journalism career.
Yeah, I think Well, got into cinema minor just because I mean, obviously growing up making home movies with my siblings and friends, that's a lot of fun. And then at Iowa, first club I joined was like a movie making club. Met a bunch of people there and actually worked on a couple of films in freshman year. It's like, wow, this is a lot of fun. May as well like add it to be a minor, even if it's purely just for fun, but it also does have application because when you're doing journalism, you have like the multimedia aspect of it. And you gotta know your way around a camera and framing and getting cool shots. And so like even if you're not even like creative, like well, everything's creative, but like fiction versus nonfiction, like journalism is nonfiction, cinema, at least the stuff I've done so far has been fictional. So I think you can easily transfer over kind of some of the skills that like in editing, camera wise, even just like scripting and stuff and like setting up shots. I think all of it kind of has some like dual use. And you do see a lot of journalism and cinema majors just because of that combination.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to ask to throw it out there about the one short film at the very end of this past semester. If you don't mind sharing what that was, it was fun. It was
Yeah, yeah. So that was like the final project for my cinema class was like, all right, make your first short film, like first short film in the program that we'll have you do if you're following the track. And so I was like, I have no clue what I want to make. I've been creatively bankrupt for basically a year at this point after I'd made like a Western back in the spring of freshman year. But I had this idea to do something with chess for the longest time because I like chess, nerdy, but it's fun. I've been playing it since like middle school. And basically it was like, you know what, it would be really funny if, maybe not really funny, but it would be fun to make something where like the chess board is like there's like a super like crazy like battle going on the board and then like you zoom out and it's just two people just playing a game. So I just had my roommate who also has been playing chess for quite a long time with me. We went to school together. So we had been playing chess against each other and with each other for probably 4 or 5 years at this point. Like we occasionally play games just in the dorm. So we just kind of I was like, hey, listen, I need you to help like make this movie for me. So we just like kind of made all the moves. And then before he was there, set up, got all like the close-up shots. And then basically why you were asking about is because I involved everybody in DITV with it. I was editing it on the computers in the studio. And basically if somebody comes into the studio, I'm like, hey, would you like to be in my movie? I need you to like scream like you're like a blood-curdling scream because it's like when the piece gets taken or something. And so probably had like 12 people at least in DITV just like pull him over into the booth and just have him scream into my phone and then just throw it in there. And it was just a fun thing. It's just like cool to involve everybody on that project as well.
gave us all our acting debuts with that.
Yeah.
Besides Johnny Voltman, who has also done a
John.
lot of home films, and he had one of the most blood curdling screams I ever heard.
He did. He is probably the star of that. I gave him probably the biggest like voice acting role just because I knew he would be
Mhm.
really into it. And he was like it was a physical reaction, including just like the vocals. Like if he was screaming, he would like turn his head to the sky and yell kind of thing.
It was amazing. I gotta ask, is that available or is that just like for you? Is that still private or do you have that posted somewhere?
I I like meant to post it back in like May and I just completely forgot about it. So it's just been sitting in like the drafts for my YouTube, but I probably will have to upload that at some point because
Yeah.
like I think I've made like other stuff and posted that afterwards. So I definitely need to get around to that. I probably will like as soon as this ends now that I've been reminded of it.
Because it's fun. I mean, why I would want to watch it again. And I mean, it is not any time sensitive, so it still works to be posted now. It's unlike
Yeah, definitely.
journalism work.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a lot of fun just kind of being able to involve everybody in that. I think that's really what made it stand out for me. Otherwise, it would have just been like, I have to make this project for class. I'm not super passionate about it, but being able to involve everybody else made it a lot more fun.
Talk about involving everyone at DITV. You were central to one of the more fun things that happened in the second semester and one of the more creative ideas that I've seen in the studio. I think you know what I'm hinting at, and I'll let you go for it.
Is this where we bring Brady back in?
Oh
Because he
yeah,
was kind of the emphasis. Do you want to intro Brady for that, or do you want me to?
go for it.
All right, so Brady Barron, amazing guy. Like I called him my DITV dad, basically. He's like the big brother figure, one of the best people you'll ever meet. And I don't know how it even happened. I think we were just like looking everybody up on DITV on Google just to see like what pops up. when they come up, and you search up Brady Barons, and you're laughing. You search up Brady Bear, and what pops up is, oh, co-college esports. Oh, he played esports in college at his old school. And it's like this picture of Brady from like freshman year. I forget, I think he played NBA 2K, right? That was his esport of choice. And it was just like this picture of him in his esports uniform. He's got his little badge on his chest. And it's like, oh, this is awesome. And so basically what we did for us, we made a trading card of him. It was Brady Barron's like co-college esports trading card. And that kind of kickstarted like making a card for everybody in DITV. And then back at Easter, I'd stayed over for the weekend. This is kind of like the culmination of the project at this point, and basically turned into an Easter egg hunt in the studio with everybody's trading cards. It was just a lot of fun to just mess around like that.
Brady's gonna kill us.
Now
Yeah,
now everybody knows. Your whole audience will have to look them up.
exactly. I mean, shout out Brady. Much love to you, boo. But yeah, the trading cards were a lot of fun. I think everyone got at least one. I know I had one. I mean, Elise had a few of them. Brady had about five or six of them.
Brady had so many.
I think my favorite that I can remember from Brady, the thoughts and prayers were pretty good, but was probably the bus. I don't. Was it the bus? I think maybe the bus driver one.
Yeah, that one was the most rare, even though they were all printed 3 times, but that one has like the most, I guess, like intrigue around it.
What was the favorite trading card you made?
I mean, all of the Brady ones were really funny. I'm particular to that CAN bus driver one as well because it was like the original like
Oh,
special gradient that I put on because like certain cards would get like special like gradients. Like this one had like a purple and blue gradient. We called it pearlescent. And it was just like it makes it feel like more prestigious. And like that was the one that kind of like kick-started, I think. It's like that was the one like I mean, Brady Esports, like sports trading card, that's pretty similar, but like a canvas driver, I don't know about that. So that was the one where it's like we can just make these. And
Mhm.
it was just a lot of fun.
That was the one I think really kind of like kickstart, like got the ball really rolling. I mean, obviously the first one, the esports one, but then like doing that one and seeing how enjoyable it was is what I felt like. That was like the second one you did, right?
Believe so, yeah. It was right up there.
And then what about maybe your favorite that wasn't Brady's card?
Let's see. I think back to the one I did for Jordan, who is another one of our seniors that graduated. He's another great guy, one of the funniest guys I would say in DITV. And he used to work at Hillcrest and then started working at the food truck. And so we made like a 9 to 5 series dining hall card for him. There's just like a picture back when he used to work at Hillcrest. That one was a fun one as well.
That kept everyone really light and was a lot of fun. I mean, because like here's the thing, you got to keep things light and keep things fun in there, and you were huge on that. The Easter egg hunt was a lot of fun too. There was a few cards I think we spent, I think a couple of days finding. So
I feel like there's probably one or two that probably hasn't still been found. I wouldn't know where they are at this point because it's been a while, but I'm sure there's probably one that's still lurking around the studio somewhere.
I mean, that was you. I think you mentioned that was halfway your goal. Like make them findable for most people, but you want one or two of them like there. So like 20 years they rip this thing apart and they find it.
That would be funny, yeah.
They just find like I don't even know what's the most like the Felicity Manning canvas card and the back. That's the most random one I can think of off the top of my head. There's some good ones. There's some good ones.
That was a lot of fun. It was just like being able to involve like all of DITV and just like they're all like jokes,
Oh yeah.
obviously. Like it's just meant to like kind of like poke fun at people. So like I had some like I mentioned I was like a chess player. I included a picture of myself from like third grade with glasses on. And it was just like, oh, this is awful. But it was a lot of fun just to kind of make this like a studio wide kind of thing and get everybody on board with it.
Oh yeah, no one was excluded from the trading cards. Everyone found something they get on. But I mean, maybe that is part of your answer. But with doing everything that you've mentioned, I mean, you're with the Joliet Slammers in the summer, but when you're back at school, you're at DITV, KRUI, you've got all your classes, you're getting into the Big Ten plus. How do you best balance everything?
Yeah, I mean, I think trying to make like the work that you do as fun as possible. So like, I mean, I listened to a couple of the episodes of your show and we talked about this beforehand with like you said I watched probably the two most like intense ones. It's like the guys who are doing the most. It was like, wow, like I feel like I'm not doing that much by comparison. But like when you say it like that, like you have DITV, you have KRUI, you have Big Ten, and you have to balance everything. I think like even if you're not like doing a million things, and if you're not running around chasing your tail 24/7, I still feel like you can feel like you're doing like a pretty good job. So I think just trying to like balance time with friends. Like if you get a chance to like hang out with people, like do it. And like even like the people at your like at the studio, like you can just be like at the studio and just hanging out with people in your free time. So I think just kind of trying to like get some free time in there and spend the time with the people that you like hang out with, even if that is like while you're like at your like working thing. But if it's enjoyable, then it's enjoyable either way, as long as you don't get burnt out, just having like a good time, just making sure you get some free time in there. I think that was very convoluted, but yeah.
No, I mean that you made the point though, and you got the nail on the head there. For one, I mean, you are doing a lot of stuff. You do a great job with everything. I see it firsthand, so I can say that personally. But also, I mean, that's the nice thing with DITV in the studio. I feel like it is just a family. We all just hang out, even when we're not doing stuff for production night. We're just in there playing an immaculate grid, something like that. I think Brady sent me one the other day with Javon Carter, who I talk about way too much. So yeah, that's how I feel with it. Is I would say like I love hanging out with you. I love hanging out with Elise and Cole and everyone on the entire team.
Yeah, I mean that's like one of the things I'm most excited to get back to is just like all these people that I haven't been able to see this summer. Like I've gotten to see only a couple of my friends. Like I went to Des Moines the other week to do like a film thing out there. Besides that, it's literally just been like video calls or like the way I've seen people. So again, actually like be in a space with people will be nice again for sure.
Yeah, being able to interact is a whole lot better than some of the calls and texts. Even just texting for me sometimes is kind of just like, I don't know. It's not the
Yeah.
same thing.
No, I prefer like FaceTimes, but even then it's still kind of like only like half of what like it is. Like you see them, but you're not like there with them kind of thing.
No, and it's always a lot tougher. So yeah, being back in person here in a few weeks is going to be very nice. So I'm like I was telling you, I'm moving back in about a week. You're about a week and a half. So I'll see you soon. I'll see
Yeah.
you soon. From at least I should say from when we're recording this is when we're moving. But I think with also talking about all this stuff, I want to ask from what you've seen at Iowa, even just in a short year or two. What, in your opinion, why should student journalism be respected? Why should people pay attention to what student journalists are doing?
Yeah, I think, I mean, we're all like extremely passionate about it, right? Like, this is like what we want to do. We could have chosen any of these majors. Like, we could have been business people. We could have gone into medicine, and maybe that's a career that provides more like real world impact than journalism does. But I feel like I don't know. I just think that it's being able to tell stories and just like do something that you're passionate about. Like if you can make people's days a little bit better by like what they read or what they watch and like or maybe even like inform them of something, like somebody's watching DITV to find out about what's Iowa football up to this week, what's Iowa basketball up to this week, or they're reading something you wrote just to kind of enjoy themselves, just kind of like unwind. I think that student journalists are kind of where it all begins. Like this is the jumping off point. This is the worst we'll ever be. And if you think it's pretty good, then I mean, the sky's the limit at that point.
Absolutely, very well said there, Ryan. I think if we want to give people something to look at, something to read, maybe even a story just to watch from you, go ahead and take a moment here just to give yourself a shout out and the things that people can go check out after they listen to this.
Yeah, I mean, I need to do a better job of like getting my social media presence up there. I haven't been on Twitter in probably a year at this point, but I do have a Twitter and I probably should be posting some more stuff I do on there. I don't know exactly know what the plug is at the moment. I think it's Ryan Paris 04. I think the photo's like Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes. So that's what you should look out for there. Instagram is just like photos, not anything content wise, but maybe I'll get something up. And then I do have a website where I posted that like baseball after dark, and I will probably be posting some of like my Slammers recaps, some of my favorite ones after the season ends, kind of putting them up there in like a compilation as well. So I'd say those are probably the main couple of spots.
Absolutely. I'll make sure everything is linked as well. And before we go away, I want to give you a special little moment. Like, give a little story that any of your favorite moments at Iowa so far.
See, at Iowa, I think one of my favorite things to do, we first did this back in spring of freshman year, and we got to do it one time this year as well, where take a couple of my friends who I haven't mentioned, Eric, Brendan, and then John, who's my roommate last year, who was in the chess movie that I talked about. So us three, and then a guy named Sean, who's one of Eric and John's friends. He had some classes with them. We like to go out to this one Dairy Queen, just like once or twice a year, kind of just get like ice cream, get like their it's like a Filipino owned chain. So they have like these things called lumpias, which are basically like samosas kind of things. And it's just like kind of this little adventure we take out to this like it's not quite a dive because it's a Dairy Queen, but it's not like it's a little bit off the beaten path. You wouldn't like drive by and look for it kind of thing. So I think just being able to like just go there with them and that's just something really fun. I mean, I'm going to be in an apartment with Brendan and Eric upcoming this year, so I'm gonna be getting to do some more stuff with them. And then John's gonna be in the dorms again this year. So just kind of being able to hang out with them and like those are the experiences I think that I'm probably gonna cherish long after I graduate.
Absolutely. I think that's the beauty of like Iowa City. The reason I fell in love with it and decided to go there and move away from Cincinnati was like it's cool. The athletic department, you get to work with one of the better athletic departments in the country, but the people are amazing. You get to do fun stuff like that all the time.
I did have one other story that I just recalled because it's a story
Oh,
with you in it,
oh,
and I think you might know what it is, maybe.
oh Lord. Hold on, go
Um, Well, I guess so. One of them, this kind of spawned. So basically, on Sundays, we do In the Zone production, which is one of our sports variety shows. And that'd be like you, Brady, me, Elise, and we just kind of like commit all Sunday to that. And at one point, we were talking like we should go see the Minecraft movie, and it kind of started out as a joke, and then it kind of became real. And then all of a sudden, you, me, Elise, and Jake, and your brother are going to Coralville to go watch the Minecraft movie. And then we just like drove around town. We were like blasting Minecraft songs out of the windows on like a Friday night. That was one of the best days of the year, I think.
That was amazing. Like, first of all, Minecraft movie's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Absolute 10 out of 10. And I remember trying to like find it a few days later. I found like the non-rendered version of it. But like the Minecraft parody songs that we were playing in the car, they were like extra loud than things I had played. Volumes all the way up, but also like the initial volume on these YouTube videos for the songs they had to have been boosted. They had to have been.
Early. Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
that was because like it was truly four or five of us in this car. And at one point, we're dropping off my brother at the hotel he's staying at with my mom and stepdad. And I get a call 2 minutes later that we dropped him off at the wrong hotel. I dropped him off, not we. I dropped him off at the wrong hotel. Thankfully, it was like 2 blocks away, so he just walked over. But I learned I dropped him off at the wrong hotel.
That was a crazy night.
That was a great night. That was phenomenal. You said you had another story as well. Is that correct?
I think that was
Oh, that
part
was the
of
other
yeah,
story.
yeah.
Okay,
It
well,
just like yeah.
that it was truly like we were doing something earlier that day too, weren't we? Didn't we have like a show or something?
That was a Friday, so maybe we did. I know that was when like, your brother came in and like visited the studio and I was there just like that was when I was printing off all the cards.
Like
So
actively
he got
printing.
introduced to all of that.
Oh God, I remember that because I was at my apartment. It was literally as my mom got up to Iowa City, she went straight to my apartment and you called me. I was like, oh, like I don't know if something's wrong or anything. And he's like, dude, look at what I'm printing out right now. I do remember this now.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I was telling my mom I gotta take this or whatever, and oh, it's my dog. But could you hear him in the back there?
Yeah.
He's had like he's had a feature on the show before. It's like episode 2, and he just goes off on his rocker, barking in the background. I was constantly muting myself, but you can still hear him. But no, I was like telling my mom I have to like I know you just got here, but give me a minute. And it was I'm like okay. After I saw that too, I was like, Mom, we have to go in and see him too. And I brought everyone in.
Good times.
It was a great time. Great, great times we have up at Iowa. We have a lot of stuff going on. But it is a lot of fun. And Ryan, thank you for spending some time with me today, sparing a little bit of your summer and sharing your story here on the Student Beat.
Sure. Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Student Beat. Make sure you check out all the links provided for Ryan, as he's about to do a lot of great stuff between DITV, KRUI, and Big Ten Plus up at Iowa this upcoming year. And if you want to stay up to date with all upcoming episodes of the Student Beat, make sure to follow me on Twitter at C_Crithers33 or at the Student Beat, or the same handle on Instagram and TikTok. We just walked the Student Beat. I'll see you next week for a brand new episode.